I have a 10-minute walk home, and I've been thinking it might be handy, as my mouth moves far faster than my mind, to have a go at doing a bit of a freestyle philosophical argument with myself. And so I thought, with such an idea, maybe the first topic covered could be nihilism. So to make it clear, I'm going to try and argue against the philosophical position of nihilism, because it seems to me, if Nietzsche proclaimed the death of God, then nihilists by necessity are proclaiming the death of philosophy, which obviously is an interesting take. Because if we take nihilism to mean that ultimately life and all the decisions and experiences of the human condition are meaningless and purposeless, then that's a viewpoint I can't support. For one, coming from a religious faith, my life, by necessity has to have some sort of meaning, if from a Christian perspective, to be to aim for salvation, or from an Islamic perspective to submit to God, or from a Buddhist perspective perhaps to try and attain nirvana. But obviously, even to a non-religious interpretation of life and its possible meaning, I suppose it's a slightly grey area, and perhaps why atheism in some ways is a key concept required. Not to say all atheists agree with nihilism, but all nihilists are probably atheists. And so tackling it from that kind of constraint, because obviously the religious argument by proxy isn't compatible with the nihilistic argument. I suppose my first kind of argument against nihilism, therefore, would be it seems very against how humans experience the world. And what I mean by that is, if you think of, say, suffering, to suggest for a second that, from a philosophical point of view, that if the cure to cancer was found, to suggest that that would have no meaningful impact is clearly just a false argument. The relief from suffering, for those unlucky enough to battle the cancer, would have experienced. I don't think it seems like a point where the nihilistic argument starts to fall apart. I suppose one of my key disagreements, or reasonings as to my disagreement with nihilism, is it seems very deterministic, and not in the traditional sense of how we'd partner determinism or free will with God. But with nihilism, surely you're suggesting that the past decisions, history, the present possibilities we encounter throughout a day, or even future possibilities or such, no matter what decisions have been made or will be made, we still end up with the same output, that being the meaninglessness of those decisions. That seems like a very deterministic argument. Sorry, just collect my thoughts there. I suppose another strain as to why I disagree with nihilism is surely the whole purpose of philosophy is to reason solutions or remedies or explanations. And with nihilism, it's sure a strain of philosophy, but seems very atypical to all of the other sorts of philosophical positions out there. Because I suppose one trail of thought that I believe in personally is the problem is never the problem. The problem is attaining a solution, and so what is the solution nihilism is proclaiming? Nihilism is proclaiming that there is no solution, that everything is, or everything exists in a very depressive state of a big, depressive, meaningless blob. Whereas all of the other branches of philosophy, at least, have the possibility or argument of there being some sort of better outcome. I suppose the only last thing to add would be, admittedly, not that I typically take the position of the old ancient view of as having an imbued essence, but almost in an Aristotelian sense, I would say that I am rather close-minded to nihilism, as I am naturally a very optimistic person, and so perhaps that's why there is counter-arguments there to be made that aren't seemingly apparent to me. But for the first try here, going on for 7 minutes here, I think that wasn't too bad at all. Quite pleased with myself. Now I don't know what the next topic of philosophy I could discuss, but whatever it ends up being, I'm sure hopefully it's another argument I make quite so strongly.